Decorating Pages is a podcast dedicated to taking you behind the scenes of the designs of your favorite TV shows and films. Each episode, I'll be sharing design stories from some of Hollywood's most famous sets. Interviews from set decorators, production designers, directors, and actors about creating the look of TV and film, about their design inspirations, and stories that take sets from page to screen. Hello, and welcome to Decorating Pages. I'm your host, Kim Wanup. Happy holidays! Look at that. We're already deep into almost Christmas, right? We survived Thanksgiving, or at least I did, traveling. I've been sick, and my kids have been sick for like over a month. That's awesome. And we are just in the middle of, I think, a fantastic Oscar season. I don't feel like I've been really excited about movies and Oscar season in the past couple of years. And I think this year, everything, I don't know, there's just so much good stuff out there. I've been really lucky. I've been able to see some films early so that I'm able to talk to some of the designers and set decorators. I saw Napoleon, I think early October. Sony set up a screening, but they didn't want me to talk about it yet, and it wasn't out. And then I was blown away that I actually got to talk to Arthur Max last week and set decorator Ellie Griff. I mean, I only got a half hour with them, so that'll be, I think next week I'm going to put that out for you. It was exciting for me, and I might have dorked out a little bit. So, but we did get to talk Napoleon, which is a phenomenal film. The battle scenes and the castles and the textures that they talk about and the use of their palette and the research, it's really a fantastic looking film. So bravo to them. What else have I seen? Oh, I saw Maestro the other night, and I think it looks fantastic. I know that the set decorator is Rena D'Angelo, who I'm a huge fan of, and the designer is Kevin Thompson, and I think it looks fantastic. I love that the half of the film is kind of black and white, and the other is in color, so you get that distinction in the design and the decor. The story, I think, is fantastic, and I absolutely think that the makeup is phenomenal. The makeup on Bradley Cooper, making him old, the neck, the hands, it all is just really good. I gotta say bravo to the makeup department in that film. The story is great. I have a little bit of a trouble with one little spot, but whatever. I thought it was a fantastic film, and I learned, about Leonard Bernstein. I think it's a really good biopic. Bravo to Bradley Cooper, and go Birds. And he was right in choosing the Eagles winning a Super Bowl over an Oscar win. He's right. That's how it should be. My blood runs green. That's how I want it. So I have no problem with him picking Eagles Super Bowl over an Oscar win for him. That's fine. But yeah, and also I have released the film study for 1955 with Steven Olson, production designer. There was 2 episodes of that, one for color and one for black and white. So I hope you got a chance to check that out on YouTube and the podcast. Again, I'm putting these videos up on YouTube so that you visually can follow along and listen and watch us deep dive into past production designs and learn why they were good and great and wonderful, and some weren't. Stephen and I, he had watched Guys and Dolls, and we have a pretty fascinating conversation about even the backing and that production designer, and he was from the stage, Meltzer, and so yeah, I hope that you're checking him out just to reminisce about these great films. There's a lot of films on here that I had never seen, and like Daddy Longlegs and I'll Cry Tomorrow, just really great films that just I'm so happy that I'm doing this series, and I think you like it too. I hope. What else? Tomorrow, not even next week, but tomorrow, I'm going to put out another episode with production designer Trevor Smith, who is the designer of this season of Fargo. And I spoke with him a couple weeks ago, and I was lucky to get the first 5 episodes. I couldn't put the episode out today because episode 5 airs today, and we talk about episode 5. It's really good. I love Fargo. I have loved all of the seasons. I could rank them, but they're all good. Like, it's just a wonderful series of, like a mystery and quirkiness, and the designs are always good. Some are period, some are modern day. I just always enjoy, and I think the acting is fantastic in this one with John Hamm and who is it? Is it Mayor Winningham? Is it Mayor Winningham? No, sorry. It's Jennifer Jason Leigh. Sorry, I got my Brad Pitt mixed up. She is fantastic. Wow. What a role she has in this series. So if you're not watching Fargo, please check it out. And tomorrow's episode with production designer Trevor Smith. So yeah. But let's talk about this episode, which is a personal one. No. Doing another episode about this season 4 of For All Mankind. And I'm sharing behind the scenes of the process with me and my buyers on the show. I had 3 buyers. I had Ashley Rice, Katy, Shirey, and Howard Warman. And we discussed the experience of sourcing, researching, and set dressing for sets like in space and in Mars and Russia and NASA. And I'm just incredibly fortunate to have these 3 super talented individuals on my team for this season. Their contributions were invaluable, and I am immensely grateful for their support throughout the season also. They've got great taste, they're resourceful, and if you don't know, a set decorator has a buyer, which is someone who would go out, say we're doing a set, and they go out to the prop house to help shop that set, quotes, shop, meaning even rentals. So they would go to the prop house, look for furnishings, take pictures, and send them back to me. Maybe they give me a selection of, say, like 6 lamps, and I pick, 2. So it's that type of thing where they're going out and they have to character dive because they're, decorating for the character just as much as I am. And they're going to pull smalls or, shoot some artwork, and then I make the decisions, and then we go from there. But they're scheduling pickups, they're working with product placement, they are working like even, we need more frames, can you go out and buy frames, things like that. Frames are really hard to find these days, and so are tablecloths since Bed Bath is gone. That's a note. But yes, I am super grateful that they wanted to talk about this episode. We talk about some specific sets and how each of them dove into their little world characters and got it all done for me amazingly. So again, I have Ashley Rice, Katy Shirey, and Howard Warman. So I hope you enjoy.
Really cool.
Yeah, it was. I gotta say, it was really nice to see the first episode on a big screen. They had a cast and crew screening at the Television Academy, and it was really nice to see it up there, and hopeful that people acknowledge how hard we all worked on this. I think that's number one. And by all, I mean army of crew, and especially you 3, the 3 buyers, Ashley Rice, say hi.
Hi.
Katy Shirey.
Hello.
And Howard Warman. Howard.
Yeah.
Howard, say hi.
Hi.
I just want to identify voices. We have 4 voices here for people. It's a lot. But yeah, it was cool. Ashley got to go. And it was nice. It was nice to see some people, and then seeing other people brought back a whole lot of memories of why the show was so hard. So it
Some
was,
triggers for sure.
yeah, it was, there were some triggers in the audience, I must say. Um, and I thought the beginning of episode 1 was really nice, how like you start right off into Mars. Um, this is, of course, is all CGI, right? Is it digital effects or is it CGI? I don't know.
Visual
It's
effects.
visual effects in TV, right? Um, I know flags and graphics are on Katie's list of must talk about. But yeah, it's a lot going on. But they did start out with our Mars mission control or OPSCOM up there. And Ashley, that was I should start with, there were so many sets and so many perm sets that we had that I tried to divide up things so that I could stay more organized and you as buyers could stay more organized. And we kind of had Ashley in space and Katy on Earth. And Howard was technical and buttons and spaceships. And so I think that worked out. Like, and then, we crossed over it here and there. But did you guys like that? Did you like, being in that lane?
I think it helped organize. I don't know. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Did you like space?
Yes and no. I mean, the challenge, I mean, at least it wasn't an alien planet where you couldn't
Right.
get realistic things, like things that are already created, and everything had to be unique, like a Star Wars land. Because the thought of that stressed me out at first, but I liked it. I
Yeah.
think the challenge was, well, at the beginning when we wanted to get everything that they could manufacture up there. So, do you remember that was our goal in the beginning, for everything to look like they made it, like they were able to make it up
Right.
there.
Right.
But
There was a lot of talk of like how did they get all of this up there? How did they manufacture things? And um I know one of my biggest hurdles and yours was chairs. Chairs for space because we had a long prep time on this, but the actual timing of approval and then purchasing and things like that was tight, of course. So we got a note deep into prep that there are no wheels on chairs. And that sort of blew my mind because we're on Mars. So, how are we on Mars, but there's no wheels? I don't get it. But it made for another, decision making challenge. And I know even in the cafeteria, you had found these phenomenal chairs. And we wound up not going with them, right? Those,
no, we didn't.
yeah, we
I don't
didn't.
remember the comment, but I was sad about those chairs because they were incredible, and I still feel like they were exactly
They were
what
exactly, yeah. Because then you and
they were.
I,
So cool.
yeah, you and I started to do this whole thing. Well, like, look, well, these could look like they're 3D printed up there, or
Exactly.
so it really started to lend to the design that we were looking for when selecting pieces. And you had found these chairs. They were so great, but first, I don't know. I can't remember. They were too busy for them. They had sort of like a honeycomb backing, but they were like flexible and they were great. And you could get different color pads in the seat. I forget the name of them, but they were fantastic. Oh, yeah. Shout out to them because we bought them all and then had to return them,
We I don't
didn't
mm,
we?
I don't think we returned them. I think they were the only set of chairs we didn't return from Chairgate.
Uh, oh, man. Where are they? I love them.
I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah, damn. Um,
If we do next season, we'll find out.
Yeah. Well, here's what got handed over to us. Um, and so even the shelvings on the wall, we had a system that we Patrick, the lead man, and others helped with the assistant art directors and figuring all those out. And then here's kind of our final project here, which there's a lot more lighting than we intended. There's a lot more lighting that the lighting put in. I kind of like the more dark and moody that was, I think, the intentional. But the desks were designed so we didn't have to find them, but the chairs became these like pedestal chairs, which we had much cooler ones with wheels at first. Um but you
This
had
was Mars XCOM, right?
Yes, this is Mars Opscom. I mean, you had to source um all those shelving. Did you do the shelf? No, Patrick did the shelving, and then all of the like digital boards back there. Howard, you did all the monitors, right? Howard,
I think. I think. I think.
you did. You did all the
Did.
monitors,
You did. And keyboards.
but
Oh, look at the little pictures. Remember
yeah,
the time.
all
Can
of
I,
Nice.
can I say something?
yes,
When I started mid June,
yeah.
it took until mid September to when I finally noticed all your other sets. Like I'm being serious. I know it's showing my lack of bandwidth, but I was so myopic.
Well, you
Like
were years old.
I had no idea what the fuck the three of you were doing.
Well,
You're just in world.
you were Button World and you had a lot to do. And you were given a lot of plans by the art department who had kind of a wish list of let's do all this. And then the reality comes to you in sourcing the buttons. It's not the right button. And then Electric tells you we can't light that button. And then, half of their design is out the window. I think I have I thought
I guess my point is I really did not I couldn't I was really focused and did not know what you guys were doing for the first
And also, and
months.
also,
No offense.
none.
Once you found something that, everybody liked, Kim told you that you couldn't afford it. So
Yeah, I didn't know. Like, I did a budget, and I was like, "Oh, those boards, I don't know. Like, it should probably cost like $200 or something." And it was little did I know every button cost like $9 or something. Like, I had no idea how to budget this. This set, I was so over budget. I was
By
like,
how much?
I was like 60,000 over or something. I had no idea how to budget this. And to be very honest, I budgeted it before the plans were done. A lot of times they want like a pre-budget and I'm not even looking at plans or whatever. I'm just like, well, how many desks are there? How many monitors? Okay. I didn't realize those desks in the back had all those buttons and shit. I didn't realize we'd have to buy all of these server parts sourced
yeah, that
from all over the country, you know. And then the shelving pieces with all the boxes and everything, Ashley had sourced those and the gack on the wall, and I was way over on this. Oh well.
did they let you re-budget once you have concrete plans?
There what I did keep them up to date of like, hey, this is added now, or hey, I have to pay for these desks. Like construction might have built those desks, but I had to pay for them, and I think they turned out to be like 40,000 or something. I don't know, it was something crazy.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Or maybe 20. Maybe the desks were 20. But I think it was closer.
Well, that's still holy shit.
Yeah. And then, getting all the wires and putting little details in. Um, I was kind of like taken out of it when we watched the first episode and I saw the post-its and I thought, ugh, shouldn't have done post-its because I just think it kind of looked ridiculous. But then in thinking about it, we're still, straddling the line of the early 2000s, and we don't want to go completely digital yet because you kind of got to save that for upcoming seasons. So then I kind of was like, okay, it's okay, Kim. Don't beat yourself up. It's okay.
I would say that's well, two parts of something that was a challenge was the conversation of like, would they have that on Mars? Would they not? Because in the reality, we're not on Mars and we don't know what we would have on Mars. So it was
Right.
like the fine line of like sci-fi, but not sci-fi reality. And so that was kind of like a never-ending question that doesn't really have an answer.
Right.
So that's kind of like, up to personal decision. And likewise on Earth, um, you know, it's it's a historical show, but it's also its own version of history. So everything also is up for decision of whether or not they would have had this in 2000 or something, or
Yeah.
in their version of 2000. So it's, you kind of never know if something's too modern or not modern enough,
Yeah.
you know,
It
that
definitely held up.
finding that line.
You're absolutely right. And it definitely held up a lot of decision making because the only people who could make those decisions were the showrunners, and they were making a million decisions a day, with every department. And so it really slowed up a lot of our buying and decision making because you don't want to, like, I just assumed there were wheels in Mars. And then that setback was a lot. That we returned a lot of chairs. And then the struggle to find chairs, I had to do a whole show and tell of new chairs and getting those samples in and then showing them and blah blah blah. Like, it was a process. And the same thing like on our Earth sets of like, well, did we push the technology too far there, or do we bring it back a little? So you're absolutely right. There was just a constant in the back of your mind and decision making on this show, like, would they have it, wouldn't they have it, who knows if they have it, who's going to tell us yes or no. So yeah, and sometimes
It
just
kind of hinders your creative license
yeah.
because it anything you any everything like that had to be passed up to a showrunner, which you know in other types of stories that's not necessary.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes a little bit of the creative control out of the creative positions. um One of the things I think Ashley and I were excited about were the astronauts quarters, which was fun because, again, I think you and I did a lot of like, well, what would you bring with you to Mars? What personal things would you bring with you? And you deep dived so much into Ed's past and what he would bring, and details of like the cars that he had on Earth. Can you talk about like some of the details you brought to him?
Uh, yes, I mean, I watched all the previous seasons, of course. And any car that he drove, I tried to find a small replica that he could have had because I'm sure he misses. I'm sure he loves driving spaceships, but you could tell in previous seasons he loved driving his Corvette and he loved driving all those cars. And I had my husband help me figure out, watch it with me and help me figure out what car it was.
Nice.
And he was in the Navy, so a little bit of Navy memorabilia, some photographs. Can I talk about the
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
What's that?
what
That's, you're going to
She
talk about the Popeye?
the Popeye?
Yeah.
Well, it was his son who passed away in a previous season's favorite toy, if I remember correctly, or one he just always had. And I thought, oh well, he definitely have that up there. And then they had to digitally remove it because it was a plot point in a. I mean, we didn't have all the scripts.
No, we didn't
It
have all
was
the
a
scripts. And when it came up in the meeting, like, oh, and then Kelly brings out the Popeye, I said, Popeye's already there. And then they went back and forth of like, oh, you know what? It's fine. We don't have to have that in there. But in that first episode, it's not there when they do this little sweep of his photos and everything. They took him out. So maybe they kept that scene in.
I guess we'll see. So, oops,
Yeah.
went a little too deep, I guess.
We'll see. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they cut it out completely. Maybe they didn't want. Maybe they remember we had to pay for him.
Yeah, which I also didn't know.
Yeah, we had to pay to see Popeye also. So, but yeah, you gave him. If we go back, like his hats hanging, his naval hats. He has a tad bit of paperwork. He's not really there to work. He's just there to like captain and
Yeah.
not get old. He's looking for the fountain of youth up in Mars. Is my take on all of it.
Yeah. Family photographs. I know he misses his family. Not enough, obviously, to return to Earth, but there wasn't a lot of room
No.
in there. It's really just his desk area and a few hanging things, but it was fun.
And then for when Danielle moves up there, we came up with this, everybody gets the same amount, everybody gets the same room kind of thing. So we actually had to switch over this set many times into different astronauts and, back and forth of what do they have? Do they have a big reading chair? I liked the bike. And then you had found that like flip down table so that you could get more room if you needed it in there. These angles make the room look really big. It's actually really small. It's only like 10 by 10 or something. It's really seriously like maybe it's 12 by 12, you think? Maybe. But all the upholstered walls were done by our drapery Wonder Woman Sandy Summers. She did a fantastic job on that. But with Danielle, you gave her more of like what has she been doing, right?
Yeah, and we didn't get a whole lot of background or direction, and I remember being surprised how little we knew about Danielle's background. And again, we gleaned everything we could from previous episodes. I think there's a Bible that we borrowed from props that had showed up in a previous season, season 2, maybe. Tried to get everything we could. There just wasn't a lot of detail for her, so it was personal photos. We thought that she went on lots of camping trips and toured national parks. I don't remember how we got that idea, but
I think someone had said she traveled a lot or something. That was like one note I think we got and kind of ran with it. Travel books, a lot of puzzle books and Sudokus, I think you gave her. And yeah. But
Remind me who Leica is.
huh?
Laika was the dog that the Russians was the first dog in space, or I don't remember if it was the first live being sent into space. And sadly, I mean, they kind of shipped her off to space and she never returned. But there were she was considered a Russian hero.
Oh.
I think it also shows that, you grabbing that piece of information and giving it to Danielle of how she especially wasn't in competition with the Russians as much as anyone else. It was more about her and her own competition, and she really accepted whoever it was up there, just trying to get to space. But yeah, I mean, I think character wise, as little and some of the closet doors open and we put like robes in there, and she had feminine things, and Ed had like boots and his uniforms and stuff. But I don't.
Oh, his favorite books. I remember getting. I don't remember what book it was. Maybe we had vintage copies of his favorite book.
Walt Whitman? Was it the Walt Whitman one, or was that? No, I'm thinking.
It was an early sci-fi one.
Oh right.
It's part of his backstory. I liked remember there was another astronaut who's had his quarters and he was into metal.
Yeah, we gave him like metal posters. We only called him asshole astronaut quarters.
Like, well, he was a jerk to people.
This is, by the way, this is the bed where I found or I saw a crew sleeping.
Yeah, well, that's what people do. They put their feet up on the furniture when nobody's looking or when people are looking. Yeah. Howard went in to like look for like something and he caught someone napping on the bed.
Only because, and also it really is very tight and claustrophobic for me.
Yeah.
So when I walked in, I felt like I was 2 feet away from him, which I probably was.
Yeah. I mean, this is rare. I got this photo because the wall was pulled. Like if you look here, I'm standing right there. The wall has been pulled. But someone sleeping in there is just
I
unbelievable.
mean,
So,
every show,
yeah.
it doesn't matter how many signs you have. Like, don't
No.
sit here, hot set tape. Some people will
No.
find a way to get cozy.
And shit
Do
breaks.
you, do you ladies think that one day in the future, all those interiors can be a little more color, not so gray tones and muted. Like it's also gray, which is what I expect. But maybe in the future there might be more tones that we can use, right?
Well, I definitely think whatever the next decade incurs, there has to be a lot of aging on all of this. And it should be red. It should be as if the Mars dust has gotten into everything here and there. Even if you have an airlock, it doesn't matter. I think they have to age this down a lot because even like I was just looking at this, like even though that's metal up top, it looks brand spanking new.
It does.
But in person, it's not this bright, I don't think, and on camera, it's certainly not this bright. But they really should get all of those corners and everything should get dusted and aged and bring it down, bring it almost to a depressing level, I think. I think though, Howard, the color is Mars. The color is, if you got a window, that's the color of the room.
Yeah, I think they really wanted to highlight that, and it does work. How long have they been at Mars at this point? I don't remember. Is it 10 years?
Yeah, it's like 8 or 10 years.
It's a great contrast now to see the orange with the gray tones. I'm just thinking it may be possible that season 7 of this show
Mm-hmm.
may see some more
Yeah. Well,
colors as far as
I mean, look, they play with the red so much.
which is a great contrast with the grays.
Yeah. And you get some sort of like purpley in there. This also was Ashley's set on Mars. Here they are constructing it. This also doubled as the greenhouse, which was Katie's, right? Katie, you did the greenhouse? I forget. No? Um,
Katy,
yeah. Um, this was kind of fun in the sense of like finding the right dishware, which you found this phenomenal, was it macro I forget what the name of that type of
Was
that
it compostable?
it
material.
wasn't compostable, and
No.
it was. We were trying to make it look 3D printed.
Yeah. And this
Yeah,
shapes.
something that looked 3D printed, and it was kind of an angular shape that looked like it was 3D printed.
Yeah. They were fantastic. And then finding airliner carts to go underneath the counters. You found all those, right? Or was that Etsy?
We both did, yeah.
Yeah.
Etsy.
Oh, you found us on
Some
Etsy?
shipped, yeah.
Yeah.
Some Kim, you had some shipped from out of the country. I
Yeah.
remember.
I did. I think from England I found some that were cheaper than the ones being sold in like Arizona or something. Um and those airline, we made sure like the trays fit into like the airline tray things and I like this set. I mean, I thought it was fun. It's pretty simple and like we had screens back there. I love how the lights aren't don't dominate the because there's so much going on up there. You don't want to like draw attention away from it. But I always like the cafeteria set. I thought we did a good job in there. It was fun.
Remember in the beginning? Go ahead.
I kind of wish I could see the budgets for each set, Kim, while we're looking at them. Crazy.
Can I? Do you want me to tell you? I don't know. Can I tell you? Well, somebody go on and I'll look for it.
I mean, just because you brought up those things from that you found in England, I'm just curious, how much did you guys spend on that stuff?
I don't think they were very expensive, oddly.
No, I think they were like 800 each or something.
700.
Yeah.
A lot of money, because I see at least 10 of them right there.
Well, yeah, there were a bunch.
Yeah.
And then they were in pretty good condition, and then painted them. Kim, do you remember when we were this was because this was where the conference room set was too.
Yeah.
And they wanted the conference table to turn into like a transfer turn into the cafeteria tables.
Yeah. At first, they had designed these like triangular tables for the cafeteria. And then if you put them all together in a specific way, it would make one like long 12-foot table. And we looked at like schoolhouse tables. We looked at that. And then it was like, well, if you really want this, you have to build it because we can't find the size. And then, it's one of those things like the designer or I or you, like somebody comes up with and you're like, that's a great idea. Let's do it. And then you're like, man, we really just made a rule for ourselves that's hard to do. Like, why are we making it harder? Yeah. Why are we making it harder on ourselves? So we put a lot of effort into trying to find those tables and then just realistically like, look, this isn't going to work. Let's just find different tables. It's not in dialogue. It wasn't called out. It was just something, okay, Mars commissary.
Designed.
I spent 33,000 and I budgeted 25. That's not bad. That's not a bad overage, Well, and two, I don't think we had a full plan of this. They had to build that counter for us and the lighting and everything, and so, it becomes a lot. And then that becomes they just did in episode 4 they're in the garden which was looked really pretty. All of this green against the orange sky. I thought looked really great. And so we built all of these pieces. They were designed by the art department, and then Set Deck built all of these pieces out of what does anyone remember what that's called? Track, U-line track, I think.
You
Something. Damn. I don't remember. But yeah. All right, Howard. Let's talk about some spaceships. So this is also Ashley and Howard in the Ranger 1 set. And a lot of drapery, including those seatbelts. But
You guys did a really good job. I just gotta, from the first photo you showed us, Kim, you guys did a great job. And I'm talking like, because I had 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
what? You were gonna leave? What do you mean?
Well, I'm saying because I was I was myopic. I was concerned with my stuff, and I really couldn't give you guys the time of the day.
Well, you're concerned with your stuff. I mean, look at all the shit you had to do, and this was this was 2 spaceships, plus all the monitors in every set, plus OpsCom. You weren't twiddling your thumbs.
I'm not saying that, but
it was so good to have you, Howard, because you were able to focus on the minutia. And I understand what you're trying to say. You weren't focused on the big picture of the set because you were in, Smalls land. So, and I think that's the benefit of having someone concentrating on that so that, you're not having to juggle chairs and, big pieces as well as making sure you have enough small pieces,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad I didn't have to do it.
Yeah, I could have never done it. So Howard, what was the process? Let's just start with because I had no idea how this was going to go. I had no idea Set Deck even paid for this shit. So I just
So,
how'd it go?
oh, well, obviously, I worked very closely with my peers in the art department. I mean, I never imagined before I even came on that I was going to be working so close
Yeah.
the art department. That's my first time work being with them day in, day out, having to be at the office early,
Yeah.
and
I
it worked itself out.
I mean, I remember getting like one of the first plans of one of these boards and being like, "Yo, check this out. They already sourced all these buttons.
They did.
All you gotta do is buy them." And then little did we know the like obstacle of, oh, actually that button that doesn't light correctly. And we tried this out and it doesn't work. And you had to work really intricately with um one of our swing guys who was doing the 3D printing for us, who was also getting plans from the art department and coming up with like little covers and everything for the buttons. So you had such a trial and error with like almost every piece that you got.
Well, that's the thing. I think the plans came with the best case scenario or their dream list, and then getting samples of that stuff and testing it was one thing, and then you know just fine tuning.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really was every day, uh, looking at the plans, giving them options. Um, yeah, being worried about time constraints, especially since, believe it or not, most of my buttons and switches and even throttles came from either Japan or England.
Yeah. I mean,
And there was still, issues with from COVID with getting things quickly or shortages, and that was still a lingering problem.
I know you folks remember this. I bitched the first month or probably first 6 weeks about the gold room. Remember?
yeah.
I kind of hissy fit.
Yeah.
It's only because, if I got three samples of a button or a switch and I
You couldn't
couldn't
find them.
couldn't be found,
Yeah.
I was screwed. So therefore, my area of the office became my little gold room, and that's the way you have to kind of maneuver with it.
I mean, there's also including Draper, Patrick, there's like 6 or 7 people buying things for this show. It's the buyers, it's me, it's the lead man. Sometimes the coordinator jumps in, the Draper. So packages are aplenty every single day. And it is kind of like, oh, my dishes came in, last Friday. Where are they? And the guys are like, okay, well, that's one package among like 30. And there are texts almost every day, Dave opening boxes. What set is this for? This and this. So that's a job in itself, is just running the gold room on a show like this, because it's sets coming in and out all the time. If we got to jump on something, save these chairs, they're coming up soon. Like, okay. Um, you know,
Yeah, kudos to Dave because
yeah,
he really is wonderful.
Dave Michael. Yeah.
And, and again, I can remember that. I mean, every button or switch we had to test with the electric. I mean, there was a lot of little nuances as far as just finding out the right button and switch.
Oh, so
It
many.
wasn't
I
just
thought I
pick
had
and choose.
yeah.
And it's easier to lose a button than it is a chair.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. The other thing that I think I actually went to every single Bed Bath and Container Store to buy all of these bags. All these bags.
The quilted.
The quilted bags. They just wanted bags everywhere, and
We didn't have time to order them, and just I know you guys discussed this, but you can't run everything. You can't buy everything in brick and mortar stores. You're lucky when you can buy anything, especially post COVID, and so it's challenging.
yeah. I think
Great.
I think we did a great job in getting them all. and then Sandy strapping them up, and you're also struggling with, you want them to look a little bit weightless, or that's why they're being strapped down, things like that. I think from what I saw, what appears on screen, it looks fantastic. I think when I walked the set, I was like, this looks fucking dumb.
Well, also, were you there the morning when before it shot, and we were still adding the specific NASA blue Velcro,
Yeah.
and also black Velcro and Velcro and stuff, and there were, it seemed like 4 dozen people
Oh.
in the set while we're dressing, prepping, trying to finish everything, still adding stuff because they wanted more stuff suddenly Velcroed over here.
Yeah, the most traumatic
Yes.
morning of my life. Yes, there was at least 40 people in this set. Every department. Construction was actually doing something to the floor, so you almost died, because this set is about 10, 12 feet off of the floor. So if anyone just like ran into set to like rush something in, the half the floor was gone, they would have died or been hurt. I mean, it's so hot and sweaty because there was all these people panting in this room. There was you and Dave and me, like on our knees, like the guys trying to get those blue handles up because they didn't show up till
It was all hands
day
on the
before.
deck. I was even there to help
Yeah.
with
Then art department came with like 35 pages of little graphics to put up, little like name tags and everything to put everywhere. It was
And
the
you had to have a mask on, so you couldn't
yeah.
even hear anybody talking.
Yeah, it was the worst. It was one of the worst days of my life, and it drove me to to the producers like the next day to say, I'm done. I can't work like this. I can't do it. That set wasn't done. You still shot it. I told you we weren't ready. And it broke me. Because I don't want to see my crew like that. I don't want to work like this. It was so stressful, this spaceship, because it took so much time to build it, and it looks great, and the details should be there. We should be able to give that to the show and the actors and everything. And I think it's there with the time that we had, but I would have killed for 12 hours alone in that set just to like really sit down and think, well, where would this piece of Velcro go? Or what do they need over here? Or what actually, like, we put all of those things on the back of the chairs, all the nets and everything. And the chairs are a whole nother discussion, but it was a lot. And then putting the space suits in, and then they didn't fit. And then it was just being given those blue handles at the absolute last minute. I think it was like 73 handles or something, and expecting the guys to just put them on, because they were designed, and then they had to be made, they had to be cut all to the right sizes, and then they had to be painted, and then they had to be given back to us. Like, it's just a process with a lot of the space stuff. And yeah, that was the worst day of my professional life, I think.
So
I mean, I knew it was bad, but it was chaos.
the producers. You did go to the producers, Kim?
Yeah, I went, and
Yeah.
I cried, and I told them, you broke me.
You cried while talking to them?
Yeah.
I don't know if I knew that.
And then I said, I can't do this. I said, I'm done. I told Patrick, I was like, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. I'm going in to talk to them. If they don't change this in some way and slow this down for us or help us, I'm out. And they said, they were actually great about it, Dia and Seth Edelstein. What can we do to help? What can we do? I gave out some suggestions they didn't like. And then I said, I need another decorator. I can't do this. And that's how Laura came on to help us. And a whole nother set deck crew, another lead man, another, another all other swing guys, because I couldn't do all of the sets that were going on stage and then go out to locations and give it the detail that it deserved. And I knew it. But I knew this wasn't going to be the last time that this was going to happen. And it wasn't. I mean, the whole basement turnover that comes up, everything was last minute on this. And we did a phenomenal job with the time and effort that we had, and being prepared for it. I think without the three of you always being prepared for last minute changes and buying things, like, it wouldn't have gotten done. So yeah.
How often does that happen, Kim, on your projects that you bring in other decorators to kind of take something off your plate?
I've only done it on impeachment. There was a whole thing of a mall, and it was a mall, and then it was a mall at Christmas,
At
and
Christmas.
and it was like, wow, that is going to be huge. And the designer suggested, why don't we bring someone else in? This is coming up. It's going to be, bits and pieces of it are going to be in multiple episodes, but we're just going to shoot it out one time. Why don't we bring someone else in to do it? It was Jamie McCall's suggestion, and she is the one who introduced me to Laura, and Laura did that also. So
Thank
even
God.
though that mall was like less than a mile from my house,
In the middle of like all the White House and all of the
yeah,
that was all those sets were big.
yeah. So
The Lord of the Godsend.
yeah,
Yeah.
Laura is I absolutely trust her. I think she has great taste. And she's got her own buyer. She had her own buyer, she had her own lead man. It was almost like a completely different entity, but we still all had to coordinate things, and her and I would talk all the time about the sets that she was doing. But yeah, that is these are bad memories. But it looks great on TV.
Yeah. So did you and Laura collaborate on the budget?
She
Or
budgeted her own sets, and then I just worked it into the overall budget, and I would submit the budget. So yeah. Howard, did you have anything to do with this? The truss?
I can't I can't tell. Probably some little stuff, but
This
it
look, I
gets
thought
lost.
these pieces I thought looked fantastic.
I do too. I think so. I think the whole show looked fantastic. I
Yeah,
really,
I do too.
especially watching it on a big screen, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. How about Devs? You want to talk about Devs? This location was phenomenal up in Pacific Palisades.
Well, I bought the house originally at 1.9 in 2010.
1.9. Oh my God.
Now it's worth 19. So I did well.
You did very well. This house yeah, this house that exists up in the Pacific Palisades, this location that we went to was phenomenal.
Like him.
Yeah.
No, this is in South Bay.
Yeah, Pacific Palisades, I just said it.
Pacific Palisades is by Sunset
Oh,
and
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. What is it? Palos Verdes.
Oh,
I'm so sorry. You're right. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me. Yeah, because that's Catalina. Sorry. Palos Verdes.
We just got to say something.
What?
It's this home, the architecture, the location truly is like A plus, and one of the few there's only so many homes in the world that are like this. So
Yeah.
we're in a very spectacular house, in my opinion.
But what we do when we come in and this is our set, we make it better as usual. Like there was a lot of other things going on in this house, and we really cleaned it and made it, the smalls that you selected up there, like everything looks so much cleaner than what it actually was. And then the outdoor furniture that we put out there, making it all look cohesive of what's going on inside and outside. And I don't know what they needed this weight area. I just like the view. But the desk was fantastic. That is a fantastic find because it goes perfectly with Dev, the character, and this house.
Yes, if you focus in on it, it does. But
Yeah.
my eyes still gravitate to the glass and the views, no matter what you're showing me. As it's just, yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't take away, that desk doesn't take away from anything about the house.
correct. And that's a good design. That was we got a good choice there. And then monitors, of course. You're always dealing with the tech in the room. This, we had to go somewhere special to get this, right?
Kinda.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Get like nice.
Like part of it was that Jim's that part of it was objects, believe it or not.
Your
Yeah,
favorite.
yes.
And the other sports place, I forget.
Yeah.
But
I thought we got a special somewhere. I thought we went somewhere special. And then the outdoor furniture was from that new prop house.
at the time they were new.
Yeah.
Prevalent.
Prevalent. Yeah. No, it was great. Now, everyone worked on Mission Control because it was kind of like everyone dive in for this massive takeover of Mission Control. The desks were built for us, and then, I mean, Howard, all of the iPads and the monitors, the chairs we had to buy. Katy did all the stadium seating in the back. Um, yeah, this was all of us just jumping in, I think, right?
Looked really good.
Yeah, it looked really good on camera. I was actually kind of impressed with how good it looked from what we had.
I wish they'd shot it more.
I know. I think it has to be in another episode though. So far we've only seen it once, I think. Katy got those stadium seating. We redid all the stadium seating in the back. We had so we got them cheap, right? From Texas.
Mm-hmm.
They had sent a picture of what the fabric was, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is perfect. We don't even have to reupholster them." Then they came, and whatever camera angle they took that picture did not read as what it really was, right? And then we had to reupholster them. That was fun.
I'm trying to remember what they came as.
It was like black with like rainbow stitching or something. Remember?
Oh yeah.
And
It
we
was
thought
supposed
it
to
was
be
like, but they
it's
had
just
taken,
supposed to be charcoal, and then it had like the maroon, like you said, rainbow
yeah,
up close.
they must have taken the picture in like lighting and farther away, so you didn't see that. But when we saw it in person, we were like, oh shit, this isn't. So then there was kind of like a rush to get them reupholstered.
Well, the broker was actually in Michigan. So he was a broker, and the actual location of the chairs were in Texas. So he wasn't
Oh, right.
physically by them.
Right.
So that's why we had kind of shoddy pictures. But luckily, we were able to get those recovered super quickly.
Yeah. They did do one shot in there already with Aleda's kid. You do see them. Um, but this was a lot. This was like even all of the, the little signage that says flight or deck or like any, all of that came in. That was like last minute kind of decision making coming in. I actually hate that all of those pictures or all of the paper is perfectly done on the backs. I didn't have it that way, and then it was a note that came in, and then we made it all straight. I don't think it looks real. That's just me. But I like the papers there. I think it breaks it up a lot. I think there's too many. That's probably my fault. But like, look how nice and clean the first row looks without anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, live and learn. I love all the details. When buying little smalls for the desks and everyone making it real. The set dresser sitting down and writing all the post-its and opening up the little flight encyclopedias or whatever we had for them, and just coffee cups and making it all look. I think it looks really good dressed, and it showed on camera. I thought it looked really good. And here we go, Katy. Eli Hobson's office.
Yeah.
So Katy and I, this is a new character, and so we asked for a character bio, and it was kind of great. It was about 5 pages long, and the writers or someone really gave so much input into this character. I thought it was so helpful. Don't you agree? And
I do, and actually watching I believe it was the first episode, at the beginning, opening credits, how they introduced his character with his background at a Chrysler plant, I
Yeah.
thought also helped
Yeah.
lay the groundwork for the viewers. Like where he was before he came here. So that was helpful, I thought, in you know making his office like he's already had. This is like his second career. He's already built up, worked at an automobile manufacturer, and now he's the president or head of the NASA.
Yeah.
So, just kind of sprinkling his office with like elements of his life. And I also did, lots of the books of, you know,
Yeah.
other great men or, men in tech that have
Do I have
dominated their field.
I don't have that. I had a shot of the reverse of this. I forgot to put it in. But yeah, even like you said, like the photos of like the one in back there is him and Lee Iacocca. You had that model made of the car back there that he helped design. That was precious. I was like,
Yeah, they had a whole storyline that he in our version of history, he had come up with the first electric car. So they asked for a prototype of this car to have in his office. And obviously it's one of those things that doesn't exist in reality. So we had to have a model maker, you know, kind of make something turned out pretty cool.
yeah.
How much did you spend on that model?
I don't think we want to talk about that, Howard.
I think we spent a couple thousand on it.
Yeah.
But it was
Couple.
scripted, Howard. That's
I know.
whatever you want to
I'm
do.
just curious about the monies. That's all. Okay, all good.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Well,
think it was about 5,000.
yeah.
And
What?
Yes.
it was a lot. I mean, it was a custom painted, custom. I ended up buying a couple models of cars online, and to kind of use as the base of the design, and then everything else was custom built, made.
And
So they kind of,
the guys you found to make that were like so into it.
yes,
Yeah. That was a great
they're
resource.
wonderful model makers that I've worked with before. Just very reliable.
There was also Danielle's shoes, which was scripted, and she calls it out in that first episode, My Boots. That was a big discussion. How much Mars dust is on them. At first they didn't like the boots. They wanted the different ones. They wanted these. Like that was a whole discussion. I think it worked out. I mean,
Yeah. Again, the conversation, like I think the boots for the period correct ones that she wore during that season, they didn't like. So it was
right.
another thing where you're making up, Hollywood magic,
Yeah.
but also, our own reality of history.
Yeah. There was
They also changed the paint color of that set
yeah.
last minute, I do believe.
They changed it 2 days before we dressed it. It actually had different sofa and different receiving chairs, and we dressed it all, and then they didn't like the paint color, and so I had lighter chairs in there. We had lighter sofas and everything, and then they made the wall color this light, almost white, creamy, and so I just felt that all then none of it worked. So that was, I think, a Friday to a Monday redress of just finding what I could that would work, and they shot it Monday. So not only did we have, I don't know how 2 months of prep, it all came down to 3 days again because of last minute decision making, and that's the job. I mean, that's why we work, because we can get it done, right?
Where'd you guys buy your 3 pieces of the wood furnishings? The desk, the creden, and the 2 credenzas.
I think that was Advanced
Yeah, we bought them new from
from Mark.
distributors.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it looked good with all the cream. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. But a lot of this also was framing around the whole new office when they start to do some walk and talks in there later on, you had all of these badges and um, everything framed. I know you were kind of in framing hell right there, but
Yeah.
you did a lot.
Well, you know, it was, they wanted to have, we needed to have images of what NASA had accomplished. You know, each season, this series takes a big jump. So it's, you know, coming up with an imaginary accomplishments, and then also, you know, with props and wardrobe, and also us, we had to have a lot of badges
Yeah,
that were made and approved, and, you know, for each imaginary mission. So it was a lot of just keeping some of those details organized, so they made sense to any, you know, I guess
yeah.
maybe the showrunners would know.
Yeah, I mean, I know it took me a very long time to try to put them all together, and then you coming down to like detailing out like spacing and more colors and um it these things take a lot of time. It's a lot of detail, but I think they all looked great in the offices. I think it gave it a real layer of reality because that's what they would have. They really are into these patches. Like it's a big thing at NASA. So I think all of them turned out great, and we kept the gold frames in Eli's office, and the rest of the office is silver. Like I think we did awesome with that. Here's your shining star, Katie.
Oh, Margot.
I mean, you could speak fluent Russian now, right?
No, can't.
I have to say something.
Yeah,
This is my favorite plot line in the series.
you
It's
think?
Marco.
I think
I
she's,
agree.
yeah. I think she's doing a great job. I mean, I think because of the like accent that she has, and then she's doing Russian, it kind of takes me out of it. But I know that this actor's like learned Russian, her lines.
Right.
So, um, yeah, I think it is a good storyline, and especially where it goes, I think also is a good little tease. But we had to kind of almost exactly replicate the last scene of season 3 um into, her waking up and her daily routine and everything. And then that room actually turned into her living room. They plugged that window wall there, and then opened up the other one. And you just really like above and beyond like went like to town with like Russian details. um you went to a Russian woman's yard sale or something, right?
Yeah, it was actually one of Ashley's
Oh yeah.
friends. Ashley put me in touch. One of her friend's mother had, or family had moved from Russia, and she had just passed, and they had were doing an estate sale, and she let me come a day early, and it was really actually so cool because they had, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ashley, the father was like an engineer, I think, or
He was an
something.
engineer or a scientist. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
he had just, you know, any of, I noticed in a lot of, you know, and this is also just in period, having a lot of books in Russia was kind of a sign of, you know, status or whatever. But it's very difficult to find in America, in Southern California, you know, a collection of Russian books.
Yeah.
So they had that. And
Yeah.
I was able to buy like all of these great books, you know, to fill her shelves with, and cooking stuff. And, you know, in our history, Russia was very closed off to the Western world. So it, you know, we don't have a lot of pictures, b a lot of things, you know, they just were very isolated. So it was great to have access to a lot of those items that
Yeah.
we wouldn't really be able to have.
All those books up on the wall there, they're all Russian. On her desk, in those green envelopes, all of those papers are the ones you're talking about. Everything's in Russian, and it's like scientific equations and everything like that. Like this set, I think it was one of my favorites, and the patterns we got to explore. I think we had a lot of discussion of like, well, who decorated this for her? And like we didn't want to make it too like grandma, but it is more dated than where we are now. And we said that we didn't think she picked out any of this. Like they'd set her up an apartment, like the night, like, to make her comfortable enough to stay in Russia. So
I love that radiator centered.
that middle of the wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was fun.
That radiator was
Heavy.
It was real. Yeah, it was real.
the only one I could find that was a radiator that you could mount to the wall that looked right. And I remember writing on my hold tag, because the guys never want you to get anything heavy. And I said heavy. And then I get a call from Patch, the lead man, saying, "We're gonna need you to find another radiator because this one's too heavy." And I said, I tried. I was like, this is the only one in town that looks like this.
And that's the one that they used before, right, in her bedroom.
Yeah, I couldn't. I was like, don't let this go.
Yeah. And obviously, they had done it before, because we, sort of rented, tried to get the same things for the bedroom, and then, they just kept that architecture in this room also. So once you mounted it, you didn't have to move it, guys. I think that was a plus. You got to look on the bright side. Yeah, I think her kitchen had so many details that you had with her food and her teas, and yeah. No, I think, and they aged it well. I think I just like it.
I also used I went online and looked at current Moscow rental apartments that were like available for rent, just to get my ideas of like how they live now, or just different, the structures are different, the patterns are different,
Yeah.
And we were also very lucky. We had a Russian
Right. A set dresser.
And so I went to the market and I showed him. I was like, is this, what are your favorite snacks? Like, what would be this? What would be that? So that he was super helpful. He deserves he went over and above.
He's in the show. He's in like episode 10 or something. It's like a guard or something.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I also really wanted a piano in there for Margot, since she plays piano, and I thought, well, they could give her one luxury. And so I really wanted her to have a piano in there, and we got like some Russian music, and then there was a clearance issue. That was fun.
The great upright.
Yeah.
Where'd you rent that from?
Uni? Is that Uni? I don't know. Uni or Warner, probably.
You did great. Or did we get it from Sony?
Sony had great piano.
Maybe.
I think we might have gotten that from either Sony or Uni.
No, poor Sony.
Poor Sony.
R.I.P.
We tried to do as much as we could from Sony.
Yeah, because it was close.
We were a Sony show. Did they give us a deal? I don't remember. We had some kind of deal.
So we did a deal.
Weird, an odd deal though, I remember.
It was a very odd flat that they wanted kind of a very large amount for a 1 hour show, I felt. So I didn't do a flat there, so I might be the cause of why they shut down. It was too much. I couldn't give up that much, not knowing like what was gonna come. I can't do our whole show out of Sony. It wasn't that, I had to pay for Howard's buttons.
Well, you also had Jerry, who did all her sets from Sony.
Yeah, Jerry Kelter came in the very beginning too, and did like the repull of Aleda's house and Kelly's house. So we had a fourth buyer on, Jerry Kelter, who has been on this podcast, is a phenomenal decorator and a phenomenal person, and I love her. And she's fun. She's fun to work with. I got very lucky that she wanted to just kind of sit back and just shop and buy, and that was like having, it's having another decorator in there. It was fantastic.
And I think that's something that, Kim, you are very good at. I've noticed, I've worked with other people, is that you keep everyone well staffed and you are ahead of the ball. You don't wait until,
I'm drowning.
Yes. You make sure that all of us have like, we have enough work, but not too much work. And if you see something, you pull a trigger. And I definitely commend you on that. And thank you for, you know, always having the right amount of people and the right amount of workload. And so it just kind of
Oh,
makes it very smooth.
thank you. I really could not have done this with I hate to say it, weak buyers, but I could not have done this with anyone less than the strength that you guys have and the ability to pull things out of your ass and have resources and be able to do the research with me. And so I commendable to all three of you and Jerry and even Laura who came in and read. And um it was a lot. It's a lot. Anyone have a favorite set? Well, actually, you know what I didn't remember was not that I didn't remember, but our repair room.
Oh yeah, I did like the repair room.
The repair room is fantastic.
Yeah, there was something actually I wanted to talk about when you guys were talking about Mars. Um, as watching the show, you were talking about the color palettes and stuff. I liked, even though the astronaut quarters and everything were light and bland, the key is as soon as you went to the lower levels, it just felt dark and
Oh, yeah.
claustrophobic and just yeah, just really like the lighting was different. It it just was an interesting transition between like even you discussing the astronaut quarters going, oh, they were so much smaller than this picture. The fact of the design makes it feel more spacious than it actually was. And down below when you're in the bunk rooms and the cafeteria and all that stuff, you're just like,
Uh,
Because Katy did get into Mars. She did do the barracks. And giving each of those bunks like personality and what are on these shelves. They bring little games, there's a lot of detail in Miles's bunks and the little lockers and everything that you gave to them also. And you're right, it is much darker down there. And there is a sequence in episode 2 where they compare Danielle's daily life to Miles's daily life. And when you read it in the script, it went back and forth. Okay, Danielle walks down the hall with a great cup of coffee. Miles is in his little room with like the coffee like dripping down. But when they showed it, it's side by side. And I feel like that was way too much information for viewers to try to compare, her great fettuccine meal in the cafeteria to his, he's getting it out of that little like automat type thing. Um I feel like I wish they didn't do it side by side, but in that side by side, one is brighter than the other. So you're correct. They do keep it brighter on the upper floors. But yeah.
I think as a viewer, at least for myself, I felt like when they were on the lower floors, I felt that tightness, that claustrophobia, that submarine-ish. I mean, that's imperative in a story, how small the quarters are,
Yeah.
and how being 6 people living in a dorm room up in space. I mean, that concept is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah. And we get deeper. We go down more levels. It gets nasty down there. So
By the way, I love your bar up there. I love
oh yeah,
I love that bar.
the
It's great.
speakeasy.
Loved it.
I know. I didn't get into that either. I just plucked out a couple of the sets. But I got to be honest, I haven't seen any wides of the speakeasy. Every time I look at a scene in there that's shown, I don't feel like we see what it really is. So that's why I was like, well, maybe I don't have to talk about that. But
Well,
yeah.
I like all the sets, Kim. I think you did a fabulous job.
Well, thank you.
I
You
think
did.
it's gonna look fabulous. I think kudos to all of you ladies. You really did. You impressed me very much.
Well, your buttons impress us, Howard.
I'm blown away by your buttons.
Yeah.
They just
But take it from somebody who's much older than you folks, has been around. a little.
Yeah.
You ladies did a great job.
So how did you get here, Howard? Let me ask you that. How'd you
I
get
took the I
how,
took the 10 freeway west.
how did you get to For All Mankind season 4 with me? Quickly.
Um, I've always been involved with Hollywood in one way or another, and with my late, may he rest in peace, he was involved with set deck, and I was involved with that a little bit and art, and but I started in casting, and here I am in set deck.
Well, you have great taste, so I could see why. I could see how you got here. But it's a
And he's an artist.
and do you know that like 5 years ago, Howard came up to me at an STSA meeting and said, "I want to work for you."
I love that.
And I said, "I want to
You
work with you
know,
too. You're
Kim,
fun."
Kim was all smiley, happy, and holding a glass of burgundy. And that's why I just went, I'm going to work with this girl. She's holding burgundy. She be
I
herself.
I had 2-month-olds. I was the president running a meeting, and I knew that I was going to be leaking in about an hour, so I had to hurry up through the meeting. So that was fun. Katie, how did you get here? You also have fantastic taste. I mean, I have no doubt how you got here. You're fantastic, and you're super well organized.
Thank you.
Amen.
I think I just fell into it as well. After college, I went to work at FX and did not like having a desk job, and got involved in film, and you know, made my way into the art department and became a buyer. And I just, my favorite part about it is the character, um, and being able to tell a story without any words,
Mm.
just looking at a picture and being able to glean, you know, something that's happening with either that character or the story, or anything.
You have a really great knack for detail and character. I do appreciate that a lot. I
Thank
think
you.
you deep
A
It's
lot.
an understatement.
yeah. When you came into the when you came into the set tech office just fluent in Russian, I knew I had something special in you. Oh, wouldn't that have been fantastic if all of a sudden you just started speaking Russian and like
Oh my gosh,
picking it
I
up?
know. And I will say I do have a history degree, so I
Oh,
do love research. You know, history is just one big story, so it's easy for me to dive in and pick out pieces. So I do. It's one of my favorite parts of the job.
yeah. I love the history too. I love it. I think that's why I like this show in that sense of like recreating a little bit of a history. And although we said like nobody really knew the answers, but we actually are coming up with a lot of it and presenting it as options for history. So that I think is fun. Um
Yeah.
Ashley. Now Ashley and I have worked together. We worked together on impeachment. So I already knew that Ashley was fantastic. And Ashley, the details that Ashley draws out of a character are phenomenal also. In
It's the most fun part, I think,
yeah.
is really diving into the character, even if nobody sees it. Which often they don't, to be honest. You know it's there, and maybe I don't know, the actor or show creator or even a writer that um, helped develop the character might see it and get a little thrill. I don't know, or
Oh yeah, definitely.
I would hope. That's my hope. I don't know. Most of the time, I don't ever hear if it happens, but
I like
in my head it does.
I think many times Ashley has come with me with details, even let's just say like the pens that NASA uses now, and then like like having discussions with props or having discussions with other departments and knowing that Ashley did the research or whatever thing and like standing ground with decisions that we have made, like that's always fun because you definitely get into minutia of detail and organization skills, which are awesome, um, that I always appreciate, and especially even like impeachment too. I mean, that was another crazy one, but
That was the most fun.
Yeah.
That's fun.
And also I will say, Ashley, I've noticed your diligence with resourcing is
Yeah.
impeccable.
Yeah.
Just finding, digging and digging and digging and coming up with stuff. And I benefited from that. I was like, oh, great. Ashley's already found this. So
I
I mean,
I can totally see how Kim feels really safe and secure
Yeah.
with Ashley and Katy as buyers. Like, to me, that's a dream team.
Well, and you,
we all
It-
work
what do
well
you mean?
together.
me. You don't have to bring it back. I'm just saying, if I was in Kim's shoes and I needed 2 buyers, it would be a no-brainer.
It is a no-brainer. It is. That's why I keep in touch with you guys. I don't want to lose you. I don't know.
We had fun. I think we were a great team, and for not really, I mean, I knew Kim, but for none of us having really worked as a whole team together or really knowing each other, I think it was amazing. And I have to say, I have to bring this up. Initially, when uh, I don't know how much you've talked about on your podcast, Kim, but negotiating rates and trying to get
Yeah, I haven't, but
all kind of our introduction to each other was
started before you even started.
yeah, it was a collaboration with the three of you to with to petition the producers to pay us rates and get certain reimbursements for gas because gas is expensive and kit rental, and Katy really spearheaded that because I was on a crazy show with Jerry Kelter actually, who you mentioned earlier, and it was wonderful, but I didn't have the bandwidth to send emails and all the proof that Katy sent with how much things cost and why we need to get reimbursed for this and why we need to get paid for this. I had a little bit of background or previous experience to back up what she was saying and help prove, but she spearheaded our rate negotiation, which was a bonding experience, I think, for
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
valuable because we worked really hard and I never most of the time, I never really I felt like we got a good deal better than people had gotten
Yeah.
before previous
I give kudos to Katy because the fact that she even like showed the producers what it would cost to rent a car. I mean, she
or
really
a computer or like
you
a
don't
lunch
teach.
menu, what lunch costs. Like
You
as I mean,
you don't think you have to do these things, and then you do, and you have to do
always
them on every show. Like it's such a like it bears down on me. Like, oh, I'm gonna start this new show, and now I gotta start all this shit. Like
it's the worst thing. It
It's the
absolutely
worst.
is the worst.
because you're constantly trying to prove your value, and you shouldn't. You should. It's enough that like I want these people for the job. Let's value them for this. And then there's just this always being undercut or trying to take this or like, oh, but they'll give you this instead. Like it's not all bad, but it's just a constant negotiation every single show.
Yeah. And thankfully the producer was open to it. Somewhat. I mean, I definitely feel like I was diligent on it. And I will say that it was unusual in this situation because oftentimes on all three of us were starting the same time. So usually sometimes only one buyer is, start off first, and it's kind of falls on them to negotiate a rate because whoever comes after you gets stuck with that rate. So we almost had strength in numbers in that we all wanted this, we all were going there, and once it was done, it was done. So I thought that was interesting, and also kind of being that we were all in agreement, you
Yeah.
know.
And it was nothing absurd. It was nothing where I had to step in and be like, hey guys, that's a little of like there was nothing. It was just fairness of like, no, these are the hours, this is the job, this is with the gas, this is the like, and I think it's also a tool that the producers should kind of take back and consider back to accountants who are budgeting these shows, because I think actually everything sort of stems from someone budgeting the show, and that's their job, and they're doing what they can, but they're not. Sometimes they just take formatted budgets from other shows 2 years ago, and
I don't know, but milk, it's not the same. It does not cost the same as 2 years ago. So that inflation usually isn't like adjusted for us, and then we have to negotiate all that. And that's hard every single show. It sucks.
Yeah.
Well, Katy can be my negotiator anytime.
Yeah, I bring Katy in for mine. She's fantastic.
Lord.
Hey, Kim,
Yeah.
one question.
Yeah.
Of all the shows you've done, was this one of the largest? Or is it the largest? Was it the biggest?
I spent more money on impeachment.
Hmm.
Like budget wise, I spent more money on impeachment. Impeachment was just something I don't think I'll ever see again in television, especially now. But this is a bigger show. I mean, I didn't compare. This probably had more sets up front than impeachment, but those two, yeah. I mean, this was a big undertaking. I had never done space before. I've always wanted to do space, and but yeah, impeachment was kind of a runaway train. I think I spent like 3.4 million on sets on that one, and I think this one I spent around 2, maybe 1.7 or something. Well, the thing is, I mean, things cost a lot of money, but there's not a ton to buy. You know what I mean? Like the astronaut quarters had like 3 chairs in there. It's the selection process and everything like that. That repair room, that had a lot of gack, that had a lot. Or like every time we saw a spacesuit, I had to rent them as set dressing. Like there's things like that that cost money, but you know, OpsCom was the real money suck. It just kept growing and growing and more and more. So I think
Yeah,
that's
If you were hypothetically to go back for another season on For All Mankind, would you demand that set deck offices are completely separated from the art department and they don't have to walk through our offices in the morning?
Yes. The geography of our offices where the art department had to walk through our office so we knew when everyone came in. There was another set of stairs, but they didn't seem to use them. You know, I just saw on the crawl of Wonka that the set underneath the set decorator's name is the title Set Decorator Art Director. And I kind of thought, wow, I'd like that. I'd like to have a set decorator art director underneath me to be a liaison. And that kind of goes through my mind of like, God, that would help.
Yeah.
I got one other thing I need to say.
Okay.
Thank you, Kim,
Oh.
and thank you, Tony, because not every show gives you credit.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they gave everybody credit.
Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot of people on this show. And yeah, I'm glad that they do too. I'm glad that they recognize that because it's a lot of hard work in our department.
I stopped looking for credits because I never get them.
yeah.
Well, Howard had his framed at HSG, so maybe he'll get yours. I think you can tell that I had a great time with those 3. They each had such fantastic personalities and were such strong buyers, as in they have great taste, they're quick, they're self-starters. I can't recommend them enough, and yet I don't want to recommend them because I want them all to myself. So, but if you are lucky enough and they are available, nab them up. They're all really great people, and that's what you want. You want to work with great people around here. No assholes. No asshole rule. That comes from a showrunner I know and others, and it seems to work out. So I hope you enjoyed that. A little behind the scenes for All Mankind. I think episode 4 has aired, so almost halfway through the season. They are definitely shuffling things around because sets that we did at the end of the season were just in episode 4. So yeah. But I have plenty to talk about. If anybody has any questions, let me know. And yeah, so tomorrow, Trevor Smith of Fargo, I hope you're watching that. John Hamm is fantastic, as I said. And the story is great. It really goes back to the movie a little bit. We talk about how his design was influenced from the first film and how they brought back elements of that in this. So check out tomorrow's episode also. I'm Kim Monup. I hope you got an earful.